early November in eastern Kansas. Right now it's probably in the low 60s. The leaves are changing. Today's the kind of day that it's made to ride a bike. And that's what I'm doing out here today. Got my bike with all my bike packing equipment out for a little shakedown ride. Test everything out, and I thought I'd bring you along today. Talk about the equipment that I've been using lately. The bike, the bags, the camping equipment. And provide some feedback on what I think. So stick around, take a look, and let me know what you think. Okay, first things first, let's talk about bags. I think everything I have on the bike right now as far as bike packing bags comes from Revelate Designs. Revelate Designs. A company that seems to make quality product. I started out with a few of their bags and just tended to add to it because I had pretty good luck with what I was getting from them. Start at the back here with my seat bag. This is a Terrapin. I believe this is a 14-liter seat bag. We have the frame bag here, half frame bag. I think they call this a Tangle, if I remember correctly. And then the Sweetroll in the front. I have their gas can bag up on top here. I also have some feed bags I use at times, but I have found that the feed bags sometimes aren't particularly compatible when you have the Sweetroll on in a gas tank. It becomes a bit much on the front end there. I've had really good luck with all these bags, no issues. Really good as far as waterproof is concerned. This is a removable dry bag. This is a dry bag. It's going to keep everything dry as can be. In here, things tend to stay dry. There is some water that gets in them. And in the top bag here, generally I have a food, GoPro, things like that that don't necessarily need to stay dry. I use a half frame bag here because I like to use water bottles. Personally, I generally take 3 water bottles and a hydration pack, so I have plenty of water for longer events, longer rides. So I like to have the space to actually use my water bottle cages. With the 3rd water bottle on the underside here works pretty well. I like to keep most things inside the bags. Some exceptions. Generally my tent is always going to be on the front end here. I find that it works pretty well with me. And a lot of times I'll have camp shoes strapped to the outside. And the last thing here is my Zoleo app, GPS satellite tracker messaging system. Usually I'll throw it in the back pocket of my jersey or strap it on here or something along those lines. But yeah, you can see it works relatively well for me. A few notes potentially on the bike setup here. I run aero bars. My aero bars are from Redshift Designs. They are removable, so you can take them off and change between bikes. Usually I just strap my lights to that. I have my setup with my GPS, my Wahoo GPS here, and something I have that maybe most folks won't have is my GoPro on the front end of the bike here. But pretty straightforward setup as far as the bike is concerned. Again, we have the Terrapin seat bag in the back, 14-liter seat bag, the Sweetroll handlebar bag in the front, and then the Tangle half frame pack here. The gas tank bag I don't use for a ton, generally throw my GoPro and a few other things in there, but that's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward. So one question I tend to get is why I use the bags that I do. Why do I have everything in the same brand? Why haven't I changed? I actually have a few other bike packing bags, but I tend to not use them, and that's because the reliability and success I've had with these Revelate bags. Muddy, rainy, windy, any condition, I think it's not an issue. There's a little bit of movement here on the Sweetroll bag in the front, and of course the seat bag moves around a little bit, but it locks down relatively well. It doesn't affect my balance, and so it can handle a lot of weight, a lot of volume, and it can get me to where I want to go. So, you know, I guess the tradition of things that are work don't need fixing, and so this has worked well for me. This setup has worked well for me, and so I haven't changed it. I have tried a few other bags on the market. They all have their benefits. One of the main complaints, of course, of these Sweetroll sausage type bags is they can be difficult to pack. And so I also have a Swift Industries Zeitgeist bag. Much easier to strap on here, much easier to get things in and out of the bag. I do like that. However, if you're looking at some rainy conditions, muddy conditions, I do like the peace of mind of knowing this completely waterproof dry bag. Anything that's going to go in there is going to stay dry. So I certainly appreciate that as far as what this bag can offer. But each to his own, and each bag setup offers something different. So my thought is the best way to go through and see what I bring, see what I think is important, is just to unpack my bags and see what kind of mess I can make. There's a lot of stuff that I get strapped to this bike, and so thought we would just go through it together and see what I think is important. Generally, in my gas tank top 2 bag here is going to be where I have some nutrition, some snacks, and my GoPro when I have it on a stick. So it's empty right now. Usually that's what's going to be in there. So let's start with the frame pack. Usually at the front of my frame pack, I always have external batteries, battery charger. I also have a supply of GoPro batteries. Any other electronics that I'm trying to keep dry and keep readily available goes in that bag. A few odds and ends generally I threw in here. For example, a stocking cap, a towel to dry something off. This is my ditty bag that has all my toiletries. You'll notice the normal things in here: sunscreen, lip balm, lots of chamois butter, some deodorant, baby wipes, toothbrush, toothpaste, all those kind of things. Everything fits in here. In the back of this bag right now, this is what's typically in the back of my seat bag on normal rides. So it has 2 tubes, multi-tool, some sealant, let's see, a few other things. Anything that you normally take on a daily ride is going to be in here. Some chain lube, mechanical issues that you come into on a bike, everything I try and keep in here. And the last thing I usually have on this side of the frame bag is food. I generally pack this thing full when I stop somewhere. It's easy to get to, easy to throw things in. So lots of snack food that's easily accessible that goes in here. It does get wet at times, so you just have to be careful with that. Otherwise, that's that side. The other side of this frame bag has some really small, narrow pockets, and I find it's really useful for things that fit into that type of thing. So, of course, we have here's a Leatherman, the poop shovel, the Deuce, aptly named poo shovel, great option here. Some zip ties, and my titanium spork. This is probably the dorkiest bike packer thing I have. A spork that's made out of titanium. Do I need this? No, but I have it and I like it. It's really good for eating meals out of those deep backpacker dehydrated food things, so I would recommend that. Let's move to the back of the bike here. Talk about what we normally see in my seat bag. On the top, usually, like I said, I have my, if it's dry, I'll throw my shoes on top here just to make a little more space. And then I have my Zoleo here just so I can see it and you can see the sun, see the sky, which is what it goes with. If it's not there, it's usually here in my back pocket of my jersey. This bag provides a nice option for strapping a tail light on there, so my tail light's right here as well. So one nice thing about this Terrapin option here for a seat bag is the dry pack pulls right off and the rest of the bag stays on the bike, which is pretty handy. You get to camp, you don't want to have to be struggling with getting the bag off and on. So a lot of times I'll put things in here that I may need a little bit more quickly. Completely waterproof. It does have a valve here so you can let air and get it as tightly packed as possible. So let's talk about what I have in this bag. Generally, I have a lot of my clothing items in here. Start out with a riding jacket, some camp clothes, some more camp clothes. Usually on longer rides, I'm going to have a spare jersey and one spare set of bib shorts, one spare chamois, underwear, camp socks, riding socks. Last but not least, certainly not least, Sea to Summit Spark SP3, I believe, is this is my sleeping bag. If you're going to spend money on a few small things that are going to affect your enjoyment of a trip, I think a new modern technology nice down sleeping bag will be one of those things. This thing weighs next to nothing. It fits in a very tiny space. I think it's rated to 18 degrees or so. So really impressed with this bag. It was worth the price. I would recommend for sure. Lastly, we have the front of the bike. You can see on the front of the bike here, the way I rig things is I like to have my tent right here. I do have a dry bag that I put it in if conditions so call for it. It's nice and handy. It's the first thing a lot of times when you get to camp. You just pop this off, your tent is ready to go. So the tent that I'm using right now is a Big Agnes Copper Spur HV UL2, and it is the bike packing version. This version of the tent has shorter stakes. As you can see here, the benefit of that, it fits in between my handlebars. I don't have to strap it to the frame or anything like that. So super convenient as far as tents are concerned. It's also really small, really light. If you're gonna fit 2 people, make them smaller people. 2 people and a dog is probably a pretty tight fit. We're attempting that sometime soon, and it'll be interesting. So putting 2 sleeping pads side by side in this thing can be challenging at times, but nice tent, do recommend. So unlike the rear seat bag, the Sweetroll is attached to the frame directly. So a lot of times what I end up doing is leaving it on the bike and just opening up one end of the bags. Usually what I try and do is put things I need from this bag on one side or the other, and try and keep in mind what side that is. So if I need something on the trail that day, I can just open it. I don't have to go through the entire bag. So, for example, on this side, I have the bowl here just because it's handy, but first aid kit, tent lights, pad. That's actually a pillow, but I use it for my seating pad when I'm stopped for a short break. I have it right there. Then we get into the bigger things in the middle. This is probably number 2 if you're going to spend money on something for bike packing, backpacking, camping. This is what makes all the difference in the world to me, and it's a good sleeping pad. This is a Sea to Summit Etherlite XT insulated, and I'm 6'4", so I got the long. This thing, super comfortable, worth its weight in gold. It is pretty sizable compared to some of the models that are out there, but as far as with the price, the weight, the comfort, really, really worth it. This is one that a lot of folks may shake their head about, but this is a Helinoz chair Aero. This is a camp chair. This is the luxury item that I bring with me no matter what, because it's always worth it to be comfortable when you're out there camping. This thing weighs not a lot. I can put the statistics on there for what this thing weighs, but it is worth it. It takes up a lot of space in the bag, but every time I go on a trip, it's going to be in my bag. It gets old sitting on the ground all the time in your campsite, and so having a camp chair like this is really nice to have. Let's see what else we have in here. Some camp food, just a dinner. This is my water purifier, a Sawyer Squeeze, small water purifier if needed. This is my stove setup. So my stove setup, pretty straightforward. For not a terribly long, I have fuel. My MSR stove fits in here, really convenient. And then just a Snow Peak titanium cup. Throw that in there, throw a lighter, throw my fuel, everything I need to cook meals for a bikepacking trip fits in that. Nice and light, small, packs down. A few more things here. We're almost to the end. Raincoat, and I think lastly, rain pants. So that's it. That's an empty bike and a big pile of stuff. The problem with making a mess is somebody has to clean it up, and today that someone is me. And we're good to go once again. So that's my short and simple rundown of what I utilize as far as bikepacking bags and equipment. I'd be interested in see what you think. So feel free to comment below on what you think is missing from my setup, what I should be leaving home rather than bringing with me, and how it could be improved. I should note the bike that they're on is my All City Gorilla Monsoon that I recently reviewed on the channel. I'll provide a link to that video below. I'll also link the equipment that I talk about, including the bags, camping equipment, etc. So if you're interested in any of those, you can take a look at what they look like, what they cost. Finally, one comment I wanted to make is the necessity of the equipment in the bags that I'm talking about in this video. And my suggestion to you, if you're considering going for a bikepacking trip, is to go and use whatever you have. for a bike, for a bag, for a sleeping bag, for a tent, just get out there and see what you think. When you add better equipment, it reduces the weight, it increases your comfort, but you don't need special tents and special bags and special sleeping bags and pads to have fun and enjoy yourself, especially if you're going at a time of year when it's most comfortable to be outside. And I don't want to suggest that all this is necessary to go out and enjoy yourself on a bikepacking adventure. After all, that's really what this is about. If you haven't done so, not sure where you've been, but get out there and give bikepacking a try and let me know what you think. And with that, I'm Rich and this is Back of the Gravel Pack. I appreciate you tuning in this week. If you haven't done so already, I would encourage you to like, subscribe, and comment below. If you have any suggestions for videos you'd like to see, please offer them up. I'm always open for new ideas for different videos to explore.